Welcome to the Startup Grind.
First off, I wanted to welcome you all to Startup Grind. This is actually our 10th event here in Orange County. So we started with an inspirational video to get things moving, and I'm excited to show ONEHOPE Wine's video because it is inspirational.
I had thought about the idea of building a brand that all year round was making an impact. I thought it was kind of gimmicky that these companies would do a 1-month campaign and then it would be over. And so from a business perspective, I said, why not do it longer? And from a personal perspective, I said, we should be doing a lot more. It was pretty magical to have a group of people in their early 20s who were just passionate enough to make it happen and just naive enough to not be scared to go out on our own and just start selling out of the back of our cars. We just started hitting the streets. We loaded up the 168 cases that were sitting in a public storage unit at the time. People will buy our wine for the first time because they hear about the cause or they're somehow attached to one of our causes. But the reason they come back and buy multiple bottles or a case is because the wine's so good.
Our commitment to our quality of wine is just as important as our commitment to the causes that we support. By really building the repeat customer, purchasing us as an everyday wine, that is in turn creating a bigger impact for all of the causes that we support.
In 2010, we were at a trade show and a gentleman by the name of Michael came up and introduced himself, said he'd seen us out in the market and really liked what we're doing and thought he could help us make better quality wine. About an hour later, when the trade show was over, we went back and looked at his business card and said, wow, that was Michael Mondavi. About 9 months later, we had structured a partnership where we co-create our wines.
Robert Mondavi Jr. blends all of ONEHOPE Wine's core varietals. Even though they produce their own fabulous wines here out of the Michael Mondavi Vineyard, we have a wine exclusively to us at ONEHOPE.
The sale of some of our ONEHOPE wine varietals have actually been able to provide over 250,000 meals for children in need, over 1,800 mammograms for women without health insurance, and over 20,000 trees have been planted in U.S. forests. We're really proud of the impact that we've been able to make, and we owe it all to our customers for supporting us along the way.
For the last couple of years, we've been in the top 100 consumer product companies. We also won Impact 100 Social Business of the Year. And as far as a wine company, we've cracked the top 300 out of 8,000 wineries in the U.S. By volume.
We've actually been able to give over $1 million to our nonprofit partners in the past 5 years just through the wine sales alone. If you've ever purchased a bottle of ONEHOPE wine or even just told the story, you're part of something bigger than just building a brand. You're part of a movement to really give back as a part of something that you do every day of your life.
Well,
Get cozy.
I don't know the last time I had a standing ovation, but that's nice.
Right?
That feels pretty good.
Yeah, nice. So what I like to do is really get to know you, let people get to know you a little bit more. Like where did you grow up? Where, why did you come to California? All of that.
Well, I grew up in Northern California, so my parents moved me from Colorado to Northern California, and I grew up in Northern California. Went to in the Bay Area, in the East Bay. Yeah, there you go. In Danville is where I grew up, and went to San Ramon Valley High School. I was a Wolf, and then I went down to Southern California, like you said, San Diego State University, and I got my teaching credential there, and I taught for a couple years at Correa Middle School, which is in Ocean Beach, and I realized that that teaching wasn't necessarily my calling per se, and I went from there. I went and worked for Gallo Wine Company, which is family owned, and I worked for their LA distributor, and I started out in sales, and I started out calling on grocery stores at 4 in the morning in Orange County, and kind of worked my way up there, and then and that was my first employment. Awesome. Real employment, not other than teaching, but yeah, you get the point, yes.
So is there something or someone that influenced your career path towards entrepreneurship?
I mean, I think my family for sure. Not necessarily entrepreneurs, but just I'm one of four, so I have three sisters, and I just growing up in that environment of, I have a sister who's a lawyer and another one who went into the business world, another who's a teacher, so they're definitely career-oriented, and they kind of gave me the foundation, my older sisters, to go out into the business world, and I kind of always wanted to do it, do something on my own or do something with a group or start my own business, for sure.
One of the things about ONEHOPE is they don't just have one founder or even two for that matter. They started with a team of 8 founders. Can you share the motivation on how ONEHOPE Wine began and how that kind of came together?
Yeah, so you saw Jake Klorberdance, who's the CEO, and he had the seed idea of attaching ONEHOPE, or as it was called at the time, Hope Wine, to several causes year-round, giving back year-round. And there was several people who worked at Gallo Wine Company that had worked their way up into different parts of the company, some sales managers, some inside for category analysts type, making decisions for large chains. So everyone kind of brought different skill sets. And when his friend, who at the age of 23 had Hodgkin's lymphoma, she was diagnosed, that was his motivation and kind of the kick that he needed. And he kind of called the troops together, and everyone loved the idea and wanted to go out and start something together. And that was the motivation. That was the strike, if you will.
Leadership is a key to a successful company. As a founder and president, is there one thing that you can share with us about being an effective leader?
I think it's kind of cliche, but you have to roll up your sleeves and do, especially in the startup world, right? What I noticed coming from, you have to roll up your sleeves and do everything in the company. And if there's only 4 of you, or 8 in our case, that means, someone's going to have to make deliveries. Someone's going to have to go on sales. There are definitely things that everyone needs to do. And whether you feel it's above or below your pay grade, it doesn't really matter. It has to get done, right? And I think kind of something that I noticed working for Gallo, which was a great experience and gave us the tools that we needed to kind of break off and do our own thing is, if you got into a certain area in the company, it definitely is that cog in the wheel, right? You don't necessarily need to do certain things because there's people there to do that, right? That if it's not your job title, then there's somebody else above or below you that has that job title, right? So you can kind of just push it off. Well, as everyone in this room, if they're part of a startup knows, that's not the case in a startup, right? So even today, 7 years later, we moved to a bigger, we call it a fulfillment center now. It's a warehouse, but a fulfillment center down the road in Santa Ana. And, some of my jobs today where I unloaded a truck of wine that got delivered, so still that startup mentality of rolling up your sleeves is really important. And I think that shows the company culture just that everyone does everything, right? So the ability to look at somebody in the eye and say, can you help me out with this? They know that you've done it, right? That you've unloaded a truck or stayed late during the holidays or gone on those sales calls or whatever it is. You've been there in the trenches and you're not above it, I guess is a leadership quality that is important. So.
Which is a good quality to have.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, you have to wear many hats and do many things, and like you said, it doesn't matter what.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing when I did a startup, or when we started Hope Wine and turned into ONEHOPE, is trying to explain to friends that didn't do startup. Is they would ask, what's your typical day, and then you have to explain to them, well, there is no typical day because some days you're meeting with lawyers or trying to get labels or trying to get wine, so and you either love that or you don't. And I think that's being in a startup is people find out quickly whether that's a lifestyle that they either enjoy or they don't like, and if doesn't mean you're not a good person or
right.
You're just not nuts.
Yeah. Some people think we're nuts.
Which is what you are
Yeah.
if you do a startup. Yeah, for sure. So
I can totally relate. I think most of the people here can too. Can you share a must-do item for an entrepreneur or leader, CEO, like something that you feel that would be a good takeaway for someone?
Yeah, things like this, for sure. Asking questions to people who have done it, finding those mentors or coaches, or or as you started out the evening tonight, friends. Just you don't necessarily need to make it such a big title as a mentor or a life coach or a coach. If you just have friends that you can just ping questions, and they might not even need to be in the startup world, they just need to be in the business world of understanding what you're going through and kind of what your constraints are, and whether it's money or labor or whatever, and kind of give you those guiding tidbits that can really save you from spinning off and going nuts, as we talked about before. But also, I think listening to tapes, reading books, all the things that people always say, but it's true. I think it's definitely something that you need to stay motivated, and everyone knows that it's the highs are high and the lows are lows. So to whatever gets you through the day and whatever gives you the wisdom to get through the day, then it helps, right? And that's in books and talking and all that good stuff.
As the president of ONEHOPE Wine, what challenges have you faced?
In life, or no?
We'll get to that.
I think I think because of the group that we started with being 8 people, I think in the beginning we had a lot of mouths to feed. We had a lot of people, which became an asset over time as we grew our company to the size that warranted that amount of people. But I think just kind of keeping everybody going in the right direction, going in a positive direction, with that many people sitting at the table, all very talented and opinionated and strong-willed, right? At times you need to make sure that everyone knows the direction, and now I don't think that was always my doing or Jake's doing. Everyone plays a part in keeping the entire group on track, but it definitely is something that we had to learn to deal with. And as we've grown even more, now we have 28 people. It's similar challenges, just on a different level with more people. So if that makes sense. That guy's pumped up.
Yeah. You continue to impact a variety of causes, serving over 200 charity partners or charitable partners. Mm-hmm. How does an entrepreneur looking to make a change in the world, get started? Like, what advice might you give them?
We didn't start out with 200 partners, right? We started out with 3, and it was our Cab, our Merlot, and our Chardonnay, and that's all we focused on. And one of the big one was our Cabernet for autism, and it was the girl who first designed our very first label. Her younger brother was autistic, and so she kind of gave us that motivation, and then we took that motivation and passion and built it from there. But definitely you need to start small and find the passion for find whatever you're passionate about and kind of go from there. So you get to 200 after 7 years.
Right.
Hopefully in 7 years we'll have 2,000 and we'll keep growing. But I would definitely pick something that you're passionate about and then focus on that and then move from there.
It really helps when you're passionate about something, because you'll work harder.
Yep.
You'll work late hours. You'll definitely put the time in.
And I think during the early phase you're going to have, or stages, you're going to have tons of people that come in, and you're going to have people who love your product, who say, you're not charging enough, or you guys should be everywhere, and there's going to be the doubters as well. So, passion's one of the few things that are going to get you to power through really both sides, right?
Right.
People that are pumping you up probably a little too much, and the people that are trying to bring you down probably a little bit too much as well. So, very, very important, for sure.
What was the magic moment for you guys, the tipping point that really like started snowballing for you?
We had an investor who came in 2008 and put in, at the time, a large sum of money in a form of a loan. And that was really not the first time, but definitely when, as everyone who does a startup knows, when somebody writes a check and it cashes, that's like, there's no better belief system, right? Because that person is actually putting something that means a lot to them and believing in your concept or your project. So I think in that stage of where we were, it was a huge, and who it came from, who was he was a person who had been successful in sales and the product industry and all that good stuff. So it was definitely something that was like, whoa, this is someone who knows the space and is willing to do this for us, which was a big one. But I mean, the Mondavis, you can't ignore that. I mean,
That's just a great story.
It's a great story, and it was an incredible moment that, in iconic family in our industry would want to partner with us. And they have been a partner in the truest sense of the word. Every time we've gone to them with something, an idea or something to talk about, if it makes good business sense, they're going to do it. And that's how they look at it. It's not all about what they get out of it. It's all about what we get out of it. It is a partnership through and through. So it's very exciting.
You played an important role in launching the ONEHOPE Wine brand into the e-commerce and the nonprofit spaces. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Sure, yeah. In regards to the nonprofit, we early on when we were building this out, it's once again just picking really good partners, and there's been some nonprofits that we've worked with that haven't been good partners, and really early on trying to recognize when they're good partners and when they're not, right? And I think that's something that it's taken time, right? You can't, you want to go in full faith that everyone's going to be a good partner, but that's not always the case, right? So I think it's choosing good partners and sticking with them. On the e-commerce side, hiring really good people. We hired a gentleman by the name of Mike Weber, who really understood the space, along with Jay Cloverdance. They do a great job there. And then building really good relationships. Amazon is fortunately one of our bigger partners and has done a great job in getting our messaging out, especially during the holidays. And that's just having the ability to give them a product that they can turn around and sell, right? And in turn, and also having them have faith that we can fulfill to their high standards, right? That's the big thing that Amazon does. So picking good partners. I mean, I think you could almost do a blanket statement for, your banking partnership. You just have to find people that believe in you and that, are going to help you through some bumpy times, because there's going to be some bumpy times for sure. So.
ONEHOPE has quickly become one of the most recognizable cause brands due to the success of your cornerstone product, ONEHOPE Wine. What one piece of valuable advice might you give to an entrepreneur who has a physical product? You have to go out and sell it. So if you have so for us, our biggest advantage that we had is we came from the industry working for Gallo, so we got that experience. But then, when we started selling ONEHOPE, we went out into the streets. And if you're dealing with retailers in liquor stores or out and about, those are some of the most honest people that will give you feedback right away. And so, throughout a day working the streets, you get a sample size of market research of 10 to 12 people that have already seen 10 other vendors that day, or may see 100 vendors in the week. So they have zero, they're not going to hold any punches, right? So I think that's something, and we did it. We opened up every market, every founder went out throughout the country. Anytime we opened a state, it was
early on always opened up by a founder. So what pricing, quality, packaging, we were getting real-time feedback, and if we heard it enough, we would go back and tell the rest of the group, all right, here's the deal, this is what we're hearing, and then you can make real-time changes. In the wine industry, it's 6 months, 8 months real-time, but you can make real-time changes to your product to actually make it more appealing and attractive.
As a social enterprise, how do you inspire within your own team? Like, what things do you guys do in the culture of your company?
So, we do volunteer days. Every time we come together as a group, which is twice a year, we'll do a meeting one day. We'll do something the second day, meeting oriented, and then the third day is a volunteer day. And that's put on by our executive director, who's Melissa Lake. And so we've done hashtag lunch bag, which is getting some great press from some national press from Wells Fargo, and we've done that a couple times, and we've done Habitat for Humanity, but we do it as a group. Everybody in the company goes, and it allows people, and the biggest takeaway is, it gives people the ability to realize what we're working for as a cause brand, that we're working to give back, and going out and doing things like that just kind of reinforces our company culture.
Love that. Are all of your members of your company, are they just all over the country, or are they local, more California?
Yeah, so the majority are in California. We have an office in El Segundo, and we have an office, the fulfillment center in Santa Ana. And then we have people in Chicago, Texas, New York, Florida, North Carolina, and Northern California.
If you had a chance to start over, what is the one thing that you may have done differently?
Well, I mean, we did everything perfect. So, let me think of that one mistake we made. No, I'm just kidding. If we had to do it over,
or maybe something you could have done better that you thought maybe it wasn't.
We would have set realistic goals, which is everyone wants to put a product out and sell 1 million cases, right? So coming from Gallo Wine Company, and that's what they do.
Right.
They create a product. Their test is 100,000 cases or higher, right? Maybe. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm assuming. So when we put our label on the bottle, we just thought that's just kind of how it was, and we learned quickly, and we were humbled, but I think kind of taking that step back and then learning that it's going to be a long road, but a good road. But saying that maybe we wouldn't have done some of the stupid things that we did that actually helped us out in the long run.
Right.
So I don't know.
That's
a good question. Yeah.
Good answer.
Thank you.
You're a family man.
I am.
And you're pretty much an entrepreneur, working all the time. How do you balance that? How do you, balance the family, the children, the wife, and working?
I asked my wife this question.
Okay.
And
Did you say you're doing a good job?
No. No, she said, I have a 5-year-old and a 19-month-old, and the joke is I bring the 5-year-old to work on occasion. This is before she was going to kindergarten and had to go to school. But she would work in our warehouse. So my joke is, bring your family to work. I mean, then you get the best of both worlds. I think it's, I think the big thing with ONEHOPE, and something that people have said to me over time is oh, you guys are really like a family, right? So, I like to think that we are, we have a very good family company culture, and then that allows your family to be part of the company culture, right? So I don't think there is a balance. I know everyone wants to say, you need a good solid balance, but if you enjoy what you're doing and you're really passionate about it, I think you can balance it in an unbalanced way. Does that make sense?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you definitely have the support of your family,
for sure,
which is great, because a lot of times that doesn't happen.
So I married my wife the month after we started Hope Wine, or ONEHOPE. And I always joke that you will find out if your spouse is in the startup world as quickly as somebody will find out if they're into doing startups, right? It's the same. And I am very fortunate that through all the craziness, she's enjoyed it. So yeah, I think that helps out in the understanding of the balance and where that is.
That's great. So I know ONEHOPE believes in giving back. Giving back is a good business. Do you have a personal mission statement that you live by, like something that you personally?
I think you just have to have that. It goes back to that passion, right? I guess maybe live with passion is my motto,
Okay.
Or my mission statement. You really have to care about the people you work with because you're at work so much, and you're in the startup you're at even more than just a 9 to 5. So yeah, just really loving the people you work with, I guess is.
It makes
maybe
it a
the
lot
motto.
easier.
It does. It does. For
A lot
sure.
happier, for sure. The last question I have for you tonight is, how do you and your co-founders hope to continue to change or impact the world?
Our goal is to really make the nonprofit aspect. Right now, we're ONEHOPE Wine is our cornerstone. We want to flip where ONEHOPE Foundation is actually what is led in discussion, and then it's ONEHOPE Coffee and ONEHOPE Wine and the other products that we may do. But the ONEHOPE Foundation is what's the center and what's the focus of what we're doing as an organization. So, and that really comes to us or becomes more of a positive impact as we grow the wine, right? So they are mutually beneficial. And as we grow the wine and as we are able to make bigger donations and make more of a positive impact, and it goes through our executive director and our foundation, then that becomes more of the spoken about piece of ONEHOPE Foundation and ONEHOPE Wine because of the positive impact that we're doing.
Well, I want to thank you for coming and sharing your story, sharing with us ONEHOPE Wine. We look forward to seeing what the future brings for you guys, and you're doing a great job. Let's give Tom a big round of applause for his time.
Thank you.